Good day, everyone. We are now taking up the concept of multiplying integers. Before we will continue, we should have to perform first the exploration activity. Consider the given number patterns. So copy and complete the multiplication table. So we'll continue to the next. We'll discuss the rules in multiplying integers. Rule number 1 states that when you multiply two numbers with the same sign, the product is positive. So positive times positive equals positive. Negative times negative equals positive rather. For rule number 2, when you multiply two numbers with different signs, the product is negative. Number 3, any number multiplied by 0 gives a product of 0. Note that we learn that the whole numbers multiplication is a repeated addition. To continue, example number 1, you're required to multiply numbers here. Sign of numbers rather. So multiplying 6 times 9, since both of them are positive sign, so the answer would be positive 54. For letter B, multiplying negative 8 times a negative of negative 5, so you should have to settle first the sign of negative 5 to a negative sign, so that would become positive. Negative times negative is positive 5. So that the product of negative 8 times positive 5 would be negative 40. For letter C, multiplying negative 9 times positive 8, the answer would be negative 72. In example number 2, you're required to find the missing number. So notice that negative 9 we multiplied by a number, the result is 72. So the other factor that is missing would be negative 8 in order to satisfy that the answer is a positive 72, since the given is negative 9. For letter B, 14 times a number equivalent to negative 112. So that missing number is negative 8. So positive 14 times negative 8 is equal to negative 112. For letter C, a number to be multiplied by negative 8 equals positive 56. So that number is negative 7 times negative 8 equals positive 56. Okay, example number 3. It's a worded problem. So the change in the price of stock in Exponent Corporation for Friday is reported as 150 pesos per share. So if you own, for example, 5 shares of Exponent stock, what integer represents a total change in value in your shares of stock? So what is given in the premise is the comparison of an amount to a certain share. So per word there implicates to a division of 2 units. The unit of peso divided by a unit of share. So in order to find the total, since you have 5 shares, so simply multiply that 150 pesos per share to 5 shares. So notice that the unit now can be eliminated since it seems that it is share over share, so that would be equivalent to 1. So finally, multiplying 150 by 5, the result is 750 pesos, the total share that we can get out of a weekly reported share, amount per share rather. Okay, you are required to answer the try it activity. So, for you to recall whether you were able to get the discussion that we have earlier. Let's proceed to the fourth example. JJ can type 45 words per minute. How many words can JJ type in 30 minutes? Again, it's comparison between number of words in a minute. So 45 words over a minute. And that is to be multiplied by the time consumed for JJ, which is 30 minutes. So that by eliminating the unit of minutes, we were able to find how many words he can type within that value of time, or 30 minutes. So we simply multiply 45 words times 30. The product would be 1,350 words. For number 5, ions are atoms or group of atoms with positive or negative charges. So the aluminum ion has a charge of positive 3, while the chloride ion has a charge of negative 1. So your task is to find the total charge of 22 chloride ions and 4 aluminum ions. So in that case, 22 chloride ions with a corresponding charge which is negative 1. So meaning 22 chloride ions multiplied by negative 1 charge to be added by 4 aluminum ions multiplied by positive charge. So it is equal to negative 22 chloride ions plus 12 aluminum, or 4 times 3 is 12 aluminum ions. So since they are unlike sign, negative 22 to be subtracted by 12, their difference is negative 10. Chloride plus ions plus aluminum ions. So with the discussion that we have, you are tasked to perform the try it activity for an amount of time. Okay, we will continue. The additional rules, which should be implement accordingly in terms of finding the product of integers. For a product with no zero factors, number 1, if the number is negative factors is add, the product is negative. Second, if the number of negative factors is even, what you're going to do is just to count the number of negative sign. If it resulted to add, then obviously your final answer would be negative. And also, if your negative factors are even, the product is positive. Now we will try to implement this in Example number 6. Without evaluating the product, state whether the product is negative, positive, or zero. Okay, for letter A, we are required to multiply negative 2 times negative 3 times negative 5. So by just looking at these signs, there are 3 factors contains a sign, a negative sign. So it's an add. Negative factors is add. Therefore, obviously, the product of this will be negative. For letter B, negative 12 times 3 times negative 8. So if we count the negative sign factors, we have 2. So the final answer of this, if you are taking the product of these 3 factors, is positive. For letter C, negative 4 times negative 3 times negative 2 times negative 1. So obviously there are 3 factors contains a negative sign, therefore the answer is negative. For letter D, negative 10 times negative 9 times negative 6 times negative 4 times 0. So it is positive because if you count the negative sign is even. And yet, we are multiplying this. One of the factor is equal to 0. Then the answer is 0. Okay, we will continue. By the way, because of that discussion, you are required to perform the try it activity. Okay, let's proceed to example number 7. Find the product of the following. So multiplying 12 times negative 3 times negative 2 times negative 1, so definitely the answer is negative. Then multiplying the product of its factors, the answer is negative 72. For letter B, so we have even negative factors involved, so it's obviously a positive value. So to find its product, 5 times 4 times 6 times 1 times 2, the answer is positive 240. Again, perform the try it activity provided. I think that will be all for this concept. This is your teacher, Mr. Cedric A. Borres. Thank you very much. 9 degrees, negative 210 degrees Celsius, positive 181 degrees Celsius, and 113 degrees Celsius respectively. So you are required to find, in letter A, the difference between the melting point of lithium and the melting point of nitrogen. So the melting point of lithium is equivalent to 181 degrees. That is to be subtracted by negative 210 degrees Celsius. So it turned out the statement now becomes 181 degrees Celsius minus or plus 210 degrees Celsius. Again, there's a correction here. By distributing negative sign to the minus side, it becomes positive 210 degrees Celsius, which will be redirected, directly added by 181. So instead of 19 degrees Will you please correct it? The sum of 210 plus 181, so we have 391 degrees Celsius is the answer. For letter B, we are required to find the difference between the melting point of mercury and the melting point of nitrogen. So, for mercury, we have negative 39 degrees Celsius to be subtracted by the melting point of the nitrogen is equal to negative 210 degrees Celsius. So that finalizing our statement, we have negative 39 degrees Celsius plus 210 degrees Celsius. Finding the difference between 210 by 39, final answer is positive 171 degrees Celsius. Letter C. Find the difference between melting point of lithium and melting point of mercury. So 181 degrees Celsius to be subtracted by negative 39 degrees Celsius. So negative times a minus sign, so it becomes a positive 39 degrees Celsius to be added by 181 degrees Celsius. Final answer is 220 degrees Celsius. Okay, perform the try-it activity. I think that will be all. This is your teacher, Mr. Cedric A. Borres. Thank you and good day again.